What was the statistic that the happiest of couples are basically quiet? They not on social media at all.
Right.
They not in the podcast wars with y'all.
They not, and they not entertaining. We just the stupid mother jumpers out here fighting for our lives with you single dummies. That's what it is. Fighting for our lives. Y'all trying to tell us y'all sit up there single at home, lonely. And then trying to pretend like, oh, I'm not lonely, I'm alone. Lee. Hey, my loves. Welcome back to our channel. Thank you so much for joining us again on the Conner's Couch. I am your girl, Intisar Eleanor. This is my beautiful husband, Joseph. And we are back. And we're talking all things Married at First Sight. This is episode 6, season 18.
So we tried something new today.
Come on, new.
This is a hot toddy. I never made a hot toddy before.
Y'all, he gonna say, do we have cinnamon sticks? I'm like, what you doing, a spell?
Out of all the people who would be asking.
Thank you, honey. Joe.
It's good?
It is phenomenal.
Oh, good. That was my first time making it.
Wow. That's very good, honey. And you know I don't like cinnamon like that.
Yeah.
Joe has ruined cinnamon for me.
The cinnamon stick is really just a garnish. It adds a
you
little
can still
bit.
kind of taste it, but
but it's
not overpowering. Yeah. So if you're listening to this, happy Thanksgiving, ho. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it's a good one, and I hope your family is blessed, and you guys got to give love. So we had an eventful weekend, Joe. That's probably why we sound like this.
We sure did. That's why we drinking hot toddies.
Really, though. Joe had a lot going on. He had some business in L.A.
Yeah.
And because he had business in L.A., he thought he would end it with a bang, and that was us going to the Eagles game. What was the company you booked the Eagles game through?
Philly Sports Trips. My drum and DJ project, JC and Mr. Vershawn, have been, working with this company, and they do these really cool flyaway events for Philly fans, and they were doing an event in L.A., with Shady McCoy and Deshaun Jackson before the Eagles game. The Eagles played the Rams this past weekend. So since we was already going to be in LA, we just ended up going to the tailgate beforehand, and then we went over to the game. Totally randomly ended up on the field holding the flag during the national anthem,
which was wild
and super random. I had no clue that it was happening. Like when we checked in to get our passes at the tailgate, the lady was like, "Oh, this is your badge for your on-field thing, and you have to leave at 3:30." And I was like, we had already had other plans to meet people at another location.
I also had 17 drinks.
Yes, as we should have.
Because that was included. Bar. It was open bar. Yeah. It was a tailgate. So it was open bar. There was food. Yeah. It was really a vibe. It really was.
Yeah, and so I didn't really... The head of the company had mentioned something to me before we had got to LA about throwing in this on-field thing. I thought it was a photo op. I thought we were just going to go on the field and take a picture. And if you are following us on TikTok, you've probably seen the video, but if you...
It's on our YouTube too.
I'll throw it. Oh, yeah. So I'll throw a video in here. But yeah, go check the video. It's really cool on our TikTok or wherever you follow us. And so I was like, we got to leave at 3:30. Why? The game's not till 5. What's happening? All this is for a photo?
Right.
So
I thought it was a photo too.
I really did. Long story short, we get to the stadium and we get our badges, and my sister was like, "You guys, I think we're holding the flag during the national anthem type thing." And I was like, "No, that's too involved. There's no way they would just throw us in on that."
But they just threw us in.
Yes, yeah.
It was so wild. The Rams Stadium is so stunning.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
From the field, you know what I mean? I was really, really, first of all, I have a hard time with crowds. So the way that I combat that is to knock myself over the head with typically gin and tonics, but this time around it was tequila.
Yeah.
Which I acted well because, I mean, I don't know. I might embarrass you.
No.
But I was drinking a lot of tequila yesterday. Tell everyone the name of the company one more time, babe. Only because I thought that was my second experience with them.
Mm-hmm.
Our first experience was for Super Bowl that was in Vegas.
Yeah.
They hosted a bit of a tailgate for Eagles fans there as well. Even though we weren't in, I thought it was brilliant to still have something in the city. You know what I mean? But this company was really, really amazing and accommodating. So I really want to make sure we shout them out just in case anybody moving forward wants to book through them.
Yeah, it's called Philly Sports Trips. You can just Google it and it'll come up. They do really cool packages. It's there's really like a broad spectrum too of like you can just go to like a tailgate or a game, or you can like have them plan your entire trip. Like when the Eagles played the Packers in Brazil, their packages covered the whole thing. So they would get your flight and then your hotel and then your travel to the game and from the game and your post game events and your pre-game events and the whole thing. So it's really cool.
Yeah, so let's still going into Married at First Sight. So we're going to go by couple because is there any other way to do it? Now, this episode, if I'm correct, is called Don't Forget About Carla.
Yeah.
Right?
Which board?
Juan and Carla open up. They're having dinner. This is their first scene on this episode. And I must say, the more and more we kind of watch them, the more and more I love them together.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, what a beautiful couple. And I know that's just a small reason why people should be together. But
I don't think
they
it's that
look
small.
good.
I really think it's something to people who look alike. That look alike too. But people who look cohesive. Like, no shade to, mixed couples and mixed families. But I think there is something there. And I'll leave it at that.
It's so funny because I feel like people are attracted to us because we look like we will be together, I feel like.
I just think we go into other areas in life expecting like a level of uniformity from wherever we are. Think about it. When you walk into, your doctor's office, right? Like all the nurses and there's like a uniform, like a buddy of ours has his own practice and like, there's a uniformity in the office. Like everyone there looks like they're on the same team.
Yeah.
They may not be all wearing the same thing, but everyone kind of looks like they're all on the same team. You know what I mean? Same thing with, sports, right? There's a reason why everyone wears a uniform, right? We want to promote the spirit of cohesion. I just think there's something, to it.
So Carla is saying that, this process she's not saying that this process has been a lot for her, but she did allude to the fact that the energy that she has been around has not been great energy. And she really does not like these people. Y'all are not going to get me to believe that she does.
Yeah.
She looked actually drained.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and part of me thinks back to the van and maybe how she was trying to get the energy up and, you know what I mean? Get everybody check in and whatever the case may be. So she was saying things that were crazy because maybe she was like, y'all suck.
I'm kind of with her in that aspect. Like, I do think you could tell there's a lot of, negative energy that's kind of been floating around with certain couples, and it definitely affects the group as a whole. But that's why I'm not a big component about this intermingling of the couples super early. Yeah. I don't like that because you need time to build your own vibe. You need time to lock in with each other. Part of the reason why I feel like our relationship took a turn for the positive when we got to Vegas is because we had a lot more time just with each other when we first got here. In LA, we were getting pulled in 1,000 different directions. There was a lot of people involved. It's just around, just because we had been there for so long, and I had been there for so long. And then when we got to Vegas, it was like, shoo, you know what I mean? Especially super early on. It was like a quieting of all of this white noise and all of this, all of the, a lot of interaction and stuff. And we still had we built a community in Vegas, but
we built it together.
Right.
And that might have been the difference.
And initially we just had more solitude with each other, and trying to, get together, get our house together, and find jobs and things like that. And I think that type of intimacy really builds character and builds a foundation in couples. And I want that for couples who are new. Like, don't just be out when you bring a baby home from the hospital. You're not just out in the world with the baby. You know what I mean? There's a reason why they say skin to skin and all of that. Same thing.
So this is a sequestered kind of period while they're on the honeymoon. I think it's supposed to aid in that a bit. You know what I mean? Being away from their normal
That's the point of a honeymoon.
Distractions. That is the point of a honeymoon. This is
actually anti-honeymoon. If you think about it, the point of a honeymoon is to leave your wedding with all of the hubbub and all of these people and all of this energy, and then now you and your hubby are away on an island together. And you're just close. This is your skin to skin. This new entity was just born, and now you're just doing skin to skin, physically and spiritually. And so I think that this experiment, I don't love this idea that they have where they bring the couples together on the honeymoon, because it interrupts their skin to skin. It interrupts their incubation mode, especially before they go back out into the real world and it's just nothing but noise, you know?
Yes. So because she was so fatigued, because everybody is so lame, Carla and Juan have separate days. Juan hangs out with David all day, forms this wonderful bromance, comes back and tell Carla to her face with a straight face, I forgot you was even here. I couldn't even believe this man didn't understand why that's not something he should say.
I don't think he did not understand it. I think he did understand it.
I do too.
He understood it. I think my whole issue, and I'm going to just cut through the fat here. My whole issue with this whole interaction is that
you know exactly what you said.
Juan made a mistake. He understood he made a mistake, right? During and after he apologized for the mistake, Carla seeped in this way too hard and way too much for me.
But he didn't initially apologize. He didn't apologize until after she brought it up.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But
she brought it up. He heard her. He apologized, and then he apologized the next day. And to me, she seeped in this as if she walked into a room with him and another woman. Like, he was talking. You could tell that my other issue with it was you can tell that it wasn't malicious. You can tell that he had sat down. They probably was a few drinks in. He had sat down and was just talking to his wife, right? And was just like, it was good. And I just forgot. Like, his point wasn't like, I forgot I was married. It was like, I was just so in the moment, right? You can tell that he wasn't trying to be nasty or a dick about it, right? Either way, it was a mistake, right? The way she carried on about this really left a bad taste in my mouth, especially for her to be this whole fairy, everything is free and easy and blah, blah, blase, blah thing, for her to be going to the point where she's sabotaging his next day. Come on, girl.
So let me say this. I was kind of with Carla. I believe in reciprocity, whatever that may look like. I think words mean things. And I think that these people are too old to be having these kind of intense relationships with other people and not understanding that, saying, oh, I didn't even realize you was like, as if you.
I think he did understand it. He made the mistake in the moment, but he's not an idiot. He even said, post the situation, he literally said, I can understand you being upset. I just need you to communicate. He said I didn't like the passive aggressiveness stuff.
Right. She was incorrect for not speaking on it in the moment. But also in the same way, he said that, in his flippant way, because that's who he is, her natural tendency would be to, okay, I could show you better than I could tell you. And not to affirm that behavior, but I understood where she was coming from. Where I didn't understand was, I don't believe people should hold you hostage.
That's what it was to me. And I'm glad you said it, because I couldn't think of those words. But to me, it was an emotionally held hostage situation.
Yes.
It was dragging out a situation, and it was a race to the bottom. The one thing that you don't want to do in marriage, and I'm speaking from a personal space at this point. There's no judgment of Carla here. I'm speaking.
Oh, none.
This is somebody.
We've done it.
Yes. The one thing you have to avoid, it's so funny because I was just talking to somebody from another couple that we know and love about this very thing because they suffered from it. The one thing you cannot do is a race to the bottom, especially when it is a mistake. Especially when it's very clear that Juan isn't standing on business. Forget you, Carla. I ain't got to think about you, right?
No, he was not.
He wasn't doing that. So at the moment when your spouse says, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, you have to let it go and move on. Carla's biggest issue to me was she wanted to retaliate. And that is a race to the bottom because it's human nature for somebody to then want to bite back. And so now you're both committing offenses, and that, i.e., is the race to the bottom. Instead of just snipping in the bud and accepting the apology and moving on with it.
Yeah, I would love to say I agree, but I'm not that evolved, right? But I feel where you're coming from. Evolved. But my truth,
because we don't do it anymore. We used to. So you literally are. You've literally evolved from doing shit that Carla did.
But in my brain, I still be on my.
But you're fine. But that's where you're free to roam. You can think whatever the hell you want to think. You can, I mean, however many MFers and all types of expletives you want to call me in your mind, have at it. But what you cannot do is do it out loud and in real time, especially when we are trying to move past it and we are trying to avoid the race to the bottom. You just cannot do that because then you compound problems. Because now the issue is not the issue. The issue is how you reacted to the issue.
Right.
And now we're talking about your reaction to the issue. So now you're taking away from your own plight and the plight of the couple in our efforts to fix said issue.
And I think that's what Juan was getting at. Like, just let me know. Like, you know what I mean? If something is going on, let me know. And let's not he said something like, let's not, take ourselves too seriously. Like, I love that
because
he said
because don't lose your thought, because then what you did was ruin a second day of our, you understand what I'm saying? So now.
But if he was taking himself too seriously, he would have actually let it ruin the day. And he really didn't. He just was like, all right, girl, you want to act a mess? What's wrong?
Right.
And I appreciated how he handled it. You know what I mean? Like, because we all do it. Sometimes people just throw temper tantrums in our adult way. You know what I mean? And I felt like that's what Carla was doing. It was a temper tantrum. But, I still love Carla and she can do no wrong virtually in my eyes. So they talk about their, day to day. Juan said, I'm a man, I stay in no big business, okay? Y'all don't know nothing about that. You're doing little business. He said, I'm out here signing deals, making money, doing things, okay? Carla was like, yeah, I hear you. I be outside acting a fool, whatever the case may be. But she did say something that I thought was really poignant and something I wanted to kind of touch on. She said when she comes home, she needs to decompress. And she needs like 30 minutes of like just music, no talking, no nothing. And I just want her to be more open in allowing Juan in, because Juan said that's hard. Like, you know what I mean? If I'm coming off work and I want to chat with you, I haven't seen you all day, whatever the case may be, I'm just supposed to wait until you hit the green light.
I appreciate this has happened before, so I appreciate your consistency on this.
What you mean?
This has happened before. A couple has said this before, except the roles were reversed, and we also didn't agree with it. I was just saying I appreciate your consistency on this. Like, me, I'm Mr. Keep the Same Energy. So,
oh God.
So if I thought it was wrong in season 17 when Anthony said it, I think it's wrong when Carla says it. You know what I mean? And I think that we just talked about it last week. This is people coming into this process with a single mindset, wanting to hold on to that single mindset. Oh, I need my space. I need to do this. I.
Yes, I never get exhausted. It is funny because sometimes I'm never exhausted with being around Joe. I do get exhausted with talking sometimes. Because sometimes, I do too. Yeah, and you do too. So sometimes we'll just sit with each other in silence, but allow the space for that. Like, don't say, why do y'all have so many boundaries?
Because they're single. That's what I'm saying. Like, you come into this process as a single person, but you can't leave, you can't continue on as a single person and all of these things. I'm not saying don't have decompress time or take your downtime after work. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're in a new relationship. So you have to create a new normal. The way you come home after work and the traditions that you do is personal to Carla. But now Carla is Carla and Juan. So create new traditions. You have to create new traditions. You are now us, right? So if you have a decompress, time or tradition, what does Juan and Carla's decompress time and tradition look like?
And also, y'all don't love the people that y'all with so much so that there is no effort in having conversation with you or being around you. Sometimes there's effort with dealing with my day that causes me, and I think this might be what she's getting at, to be quiet, but I want to fill my space with you.
Yeah, and I'm not saying don't be quiet. I'm saying, what does your quiet time look like in your new normal with your new spouse?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We have plenty of times, but we just sit and don't talk and don't speak to each other. You know what I mean? And what I mean is, how are you creating something where you're still getting what you want, but you are also not alienating your spouse? It's also still palpable to your spouse. That's the part of compromise of relationship and marriage. Okay, I want to still do what works for me, but I also want it to work for you. Let's figure that out.
Okay, so I want to add a little sauce. Sometimes I feel like when Juan or Carla are talking, it's not necessarily to each other, but at each other. Like nipping shit in the bud before it happened. In the same way that he spoke about, oh, well, if you want to go somewhere or whatever like that, you need to do that.
Yeah. Also the single mindset.
I feel like she's just matching his single mindset a bit.
No, they all do it.
Okay.
They all come into this thing with this lackluster, single, closed-minded, this is what I do. So and we see it a lot in these conversations where they're exchanging information about how they do life, right? And too often it's not open. It's like, oh, this is what I do, so I'm going to still do it here.
Right.
And it's like, no, I like the insight that when you come home, you just, go in a corner and cry for 30 minutes every day. But now, how do I fit into that? How do you think we should do it when we come home? How do you think we should plan doing laundry? How do you think we should plan? You know what I mean? There needs to be some type of blueprint and a coming together of the minds on what life looks like with the two of us intertwined.
Right. So let's dig on into Kechi and MM. They had me in my feels this entire episode. I was really enjoying watching them.
Yeah, same.
Because you kind of get to see people just dating and having
and just vibing.
Yes.
That's what my pushback was last week when when Kechi said, "Oh, we just vibing." That's what I mean. I just think at this level, you can do more by just vibing, which I think Juan and Carla are also just vibing.
I agree.
They're not arguing about.
I agree. Silly stuff.
Yeah, I think they're also just vibing, and I think you can get more done, especially in the beginning, by just vibing than we're having a tough people say it all the time. They get in front of, well, we had a lot of tough conversations already. Why? You don't get extra points for that. You know what I mean?
And I like the way, if I'm being honest, Ikechi is communicating with MM. I think that one of the things that he said was, she asked him, did he want children? He said he really wants children. And then he said, I'm sorry, I didn't even ask you before I, went on my soliloquy whether or not you wanted children or not. And she was like, I would be open to that with my partner or whatever the case may be. But I appreciated how he understood it. I don't want to put that on you. He understands that if you're a woman, you don't want children, that's not necessarily the relationship I want to be in. But I appreciate how he said it as to not I don't want to make you feel bad or anything like that, but this is something that I want. You know what I mean? Which also, why would you pair, I don't understand why they would even pair people who are thinking about having children or not certain about having children with people who want children.
Yeah.
I don't get that. That's a massive thing.
Yeah, that's a big deal. But I do think that these conversations are easier to have coming from a situation where you just kind of vibing with each other. I think he said something else that was really a good thing to me. It stood out when he asked her, how do you like to be loved or something like that? You know what I mean? That to me is these are the questions that you have
Yes.
when you're just vibing and you actually want to get to know the person. Like, I could never imagine Michelle asking David that question. You know what I mean? Because I think she genuinely does not care.
She don't
You know
care.
what I mean?
Don't get me started.
And so that's what I mean by it's evident when people are trying to build with each other. These are the type of questions that they ask. Like, you know what I mean? In the moment. You know what I mean? These are the type of things that you can build on.
How do you like to be left?
It is a big question. I think that everybody has their own ways of like being loved in different love languages, and I think in today's time we've kind of narrowed it down to like, you know, physical touch.
Yes.
I think everybody is a microcosm of all of those things, and I think I'm speaking from my own place as well. Like, I think that when I was younger, I was just like, I'm a physical touch guy, you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that I still don't appreciate words of affirmation or deeds done or gifts or, quality time. You know, I think we're all much more of a mosaic of what those love languages are than we let on, because my older self appreciates all of it. I appreciate, our quality time. I appreciate physical touch. I appreciate the words of affirmation. I appreciate all of it. And I think if we're being honest with ourselves, we need all of it. You know
but
what I mean?
What recently has been is there something you can point to where you just like, you did this and I felt like that's what I need?
That is my point. Like, I think you do a lot of things that I now realize I need all of them. You know what I mean? Like, I think we're selling our source short to be like, if we had to make a pie, to be like, my pie is 99%, gifts, you know what I mean? And it's like, if somebody just gave you gifts and never told you was pretty, would you appreciate that?
No.
You know what I mean? Because you also need words of affirmation. You know what I mean? But if I gave you words of affirmation, I never touched you, would you appreciate it? You know what I mean? You also need physical touch, So I think...
But I think it's like, what I'm trying to get at is like, I want to get away from maybe that and like... What I'm trying to get at is like, I think in this iteration of our relationship, like, I feel like I can point to, like, it's not about words of affirmation for me. Like, it's about like, today I woke up and I sound the way I sound. And we were talking and you were like, you need to take some medicine and you need to drink some tea. I didn't get out of bed today until like 5 p.m. But you just went and did it, which is an act of service. But it's like also there's this thing where you just see me and you're able to fill in the gaps of what I need.
Because it is a fluid system. So that's exactly what I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to the fact that some days I can tell that words of affirmation is something you need. Some days I could tell that gifts and service is something you need. Some days I could tell that physical touch is something you need.
No, you just impose physical touch.
That's not true. Sometimes
I do love physical touch.
You're just like, oh, just hug me. You're like, you know what I mean? So,
that's true.
And I think that as you grow and mature in your relationship, you realize that you are it's very necessary to fill all of these things, these aspects, these items of love language, right? It's imperative to fill all of them for your spouse. It's fluid in how you feel them and when you feel them, but I think the older, more mature me answers this as appreciating that it's a mosaic and understanding that you have kind of mastered the art of the mosaic and feeling those things because you feel them all for me and in its own timing. Sometimes I need just that aspect of physical touch. Sometimes I just want to just skin to skin, you know what I mean? And then sometimes I need to talk. One time the other day I came upstairs, I was feeling the type of way and I just like verbally regurgitated on my wife and she was just talking to me, you know what I mean? And I needed that. You know what I mean? And so I think that understanding mature marriage is understanding that there is no number one. It's all fluid and it's all changing.
I get what you're saying. Sorry, I made you go all the way there. But I do like the way that KT is talking to MM. And I feel like, I wonder if these are questions that somebody gave to him and he kind of put his spin on it. But I thought they were very good questions even to ask her because I think this is an important one. Any examples of loving your life? Like, are there any ones that you kind of like lean on a little bit more? Others not so much. But I kind of love that.
It also speaks to what I was talking about last week in that You have to be taught how to love your spouse. And I think it's interesting and almost ironic that both, I think it was Juan as well, both Ikechi and Juan alluded to how a lot of women will come into relationships just saying things like, you should just know.
Yes.
It does not work like that. There is no you should just know. Whenever you're new on a job, they train you for that job. They allow you to ask questions. Like it's the same thing as when you come into a relationship. Like you have to learn your spouse. And from the big things to the little thing, I think last week we were talking about how he doesn't know, her sense of humor and vice versa, right? So he was making a joke and she didn't take that as a joke. And so it was like, that's a learning moment. And these are little things that I think when I see people argue about, I'm like, this is not a big deal. Like, he'll learn eventually. I shouldn't joke like this with her because that's not her vibe. You know what I mean? And so I think through asking those questions and learning your spouse, your relationship gets stronger.
And I think it's really cool. I thought the question to ask, is there anybody who's an example of love in your life that you look to? I thought that was a really good question and also really big, because you often wonder, like, we are all kind of mirroring something, you know what I mean? Until we're not. Like, I think we're all going in it with like, okay, well, this is how they say started. And then you figure out that it really only got to be what you want it to be. You know what I mean? Like, at least some of us do. And I felt like that was a big question. I thought it was beautiful that he said, he looks at his brother and his sister-in-law and how, like, the banter that they have and the love that they have in their home and the love that they have so much so that people just want to be around them.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I love that because it is so important for men to see other men actually loving women and women seeing the same. You know what I mean? I think it's really, really important because oftentimes, specifically how we raise boys, is they don't understand that love should even be an option until later in their life. When in truth, that's not real. And you will learn to love people better if you just work that muscle earlier. Like, it's okay to be in love. You know what I mean? And I think we often tell our boys, like, no, go out there. You need to be laying it low and spreading it wide or whatever the case may be.
That's not the same.
But you know what I mean? Yeah. But I do think it's good to be like, no, I seen my older brother loving on a woman and being in love with his wife and taking care of his family. And I love that. Like, I really, really do love that. And I'm saying it all to say, if I had to think about it, it probably would be like my Aunt Bern and Uncle Rodney. Like, they had this really unique relationship. They bickered all the time, but not like mean bickering. Like, I made potato salad, but I wanted tuna salad bickering. You know what I mean? Like, what you make me tuna salad for? I told you I wanted potato salad last Monday. Like, that kind of thing. But how he just was like, he was everything to her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And how much they loved one another and did things with one another and didn't do stuff with one another. Yeah. Like, I think it's like, but it was really nice to see her. Like, he was always this nonchalant man, but he always did really nice things for her.
Yeah.
Like, buy her the diamonds the jewelry that she wanted and things like that. Like, I don't know. I just used to love that. So I just thought it was such a cool, it made me think about like my own experiences with people who I see who are in love and how they hold space for one another. And it's like how you got to let your couple friends know, like, y'all inspiring people out here too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because people are of the belief that being married is not fun.
Yeah.
And people don't love it here. People love being married. Do not let these people on social media having you think that they said the singlest man is a married man. Don't let them have y'all thinking that.
Well, they said that, what was the statistic that the happiest of couples are basically quiet. They not on social media at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? So people don't know because they not entertaining. They not in the podcast wars with y'all.
They not, and they not entertaining. We just the stupid mother jumpers out here fighting for our lives with you single dummies. That's what it is. Fighting for our lives. Y'all trying to tell us y'all sit up there single at home, lonely. And then trying to pretend like y'all, I'm not lonely, I'm alone. Lee. Hi, girl, good night. But whatever. But I really do love the conversation that they were having. They really did give me the feels all episode. Even when they got to like, them seeing them cuddle and what their life is like going to be like post the honeymoon. The only thing is like, MM continues to bring up, like, I'm just curious about what our first argument is going to be like.
Oh, that is exhausting me. I said it to Zar, like, I was, like, doing something at the time, half listening, and I heard it out the back of my mind, like her saying something again about, like, here, I'm just looking to see when the next shoe is going to drop or how bad our argument is going to be. And it's just like,
it doesn't have to be bad.
When you are looking for something, you will find it. Don't go looking for heartache. You don't have to go looking for hard times. They just exist.
They just exist.
You know what I mean? Negativity exists in the world. Hard times exist in the world. There's no reason to search for it.
Let's talk about Camille and Thomas. Camille said some weird ass shit today, this episode, that I kind of was looking at her crazy side eye. But we're going to talk about how Thomas really is trying to get closer to her. He's really taking his time. You can tell he's being super respectful. They do salsa dancing. And is it me or did Thomas look handsome? You don't have to answer that. But I thought that he had like this, like his shoulders look nice. You know what I mean? He had on a nice outfit. I don't know. I'm saying that because later on in the episode, we find out she said some stupid ass shit out her mouth. But she's entitled. She got a mouth. Something stupid going to fall out eventually. So I just really thought that, like, seeing them kind of have this moment where they're dancing together, and it's also a vulnerable moment because people don't get, like, when you're not good at something and you do it anyway, that is being vulnerable.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I think that it's fun to see him leave his comfort zone and trying to not only be a part of the process, but, like, be more favorable in the eyes of his wife. And I just hope that she sees it.
I hope that she heals whatever issue she has had so that she can see that somebody is just into her. And it really does not matter how this person shows up as themselves. He's into you. And I think so often y'all want to pretend like, you know, y'all want somebody to be kind of gruff with y'all, and then y'all will call it, he's standing on business, or he this or he that. You know what I mean? When in truth, you should just want a man. Your husband should speak to you a certain way. He should be nice. The idea that this black man, we all see it. He's a black man.
Right.
To even, and I know I'm going there already, but it bothered me so deeply.
Well, go there. That's really the meat and potatoes of it.
Okay. It bothered me so deeply that she would say that he's just kind of not like the black man she's used to dating. She's used to a little more
R&B.
smoothness. And I'm saying this, right? And
more
I mean
R&B smooth.
And you got to constantly remind people, how is R&B smoothness working out for you? Because you signed up to be on a show to meet a man you didn't know. So was the R&B smoothness working? Or was they fucking you and sending you about your business? And that's what the smoothness you look, and that's what you looking for? Like,
the thing that burns me up that a lot of the singles, I mean, this is uniformity. This is like, I mean, universally an ailment that a lot of the single community has today is y'all will get with a new person, have a terrible track record of doing this love thing, and spend half of your time trying to turn this new person into the old people that you failed with.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I don't understand it. And we know people who have done it. We know people personally who have done this, who are continuing to do it. I see it on TV all the time with singles.
I would even argue we've all done it in some way, shape, form, or fashion, because the devil, you know, is still a familiar devil. It still feel like home a little bit. And I would challenge her. It annoyed me because you look less black than he do.
How about that?
And high key, personally, you have to tell me you black. And I also am a believer that blackness is, we are all shades and everything like that. But not until you started questioning his, I started questioning yours. Because the truth of the matter is, y'all both look like two mixed people, biracial people in the world together. So what are we talking about? And the idea that, and maybe what she was trying to get at is that, no, I can't even offer it. Because I was going to say, like, maybe she feels like there's a certain space that you have to hold for black women. But
no, don't go there.
And the reason why I'm not going to go there,
because her plight in issuing the statements that she issued to her, and I believe that they happened off camera because they were much more nasty than Thomas is putting on. That's my thought.
Yeah, because he had to walk away.
Okay, you could tell he was visibly upset, and I don't think it's a coincidence that this happened off camera, that she had this conversation with him off camera. I think the origin of this whole conversation is way more shallow than whatever explanation you were about to give her. That's why I stopped you.
It is shallow. The truth of the matter is you wanted a dark-skinned man. And what we not getting about, because to me, I look at this man and say, oh, this is a black man. And I believe that all black people are not a monolith. Not only that, it is often, as a black woman in the world, refreshing to see black people with different ideologies, to be, different background stories, all of these things. You act like he up there using the N-word with the hard ER at other black. Like, what are we talking about?
But at the heart of this whole thing, my real question is, you were single when you signed up for this show.
Big
so my question for you is, how has the smooth R&B guys been working for you?
They have not.
So why are I don't understand. How has that been working for you, Camille?
They have not been working for you. But that's one thing, right? But going back to your point about trying to morph people into what you had previously, y'all are so toxic and so tired. It is almost insidious to even mention another mother jumper.
Oh,
Can you imagine if he did that? I'm just used to, white bitches with blonde hair.
So can you be more like them?
Do y'all hear yourself when y'all speak?
Nah.
Also, I recognize that dating now is really fascinating and it requires a little bit more walls than maybe what it did when I was dating. But I found that to be violent.
It was.
And I'm using that word specifically because as a black woman, if somebody were to even mention something like that to me, or like, oh, you're really brilliant for a black woman, or you're really this, or, do you know how that's violence?
Yeah, especially if it happened on TV. I mean, we would be up in arms. We would be up in arms if some guy came up to Camille and said, I really would love you to be a little bit more blacker.
Or I love that you're not that black.
Right.
So what are we doing here?
That's not okay.
And also, what it's also making me see, when y'all biracial people be in the world talking about when I wasn't black enough for the blacks and I wasn't white enough for the whites, y'all talking about with each other.
Yeah.
We wasn't out here giving y'all tests like that.
Yeah.
I've never in my life heard nobody say no crazy ass shit like this.
Honestly, me neither.
I've never heard it. I've never heard another, because as a black person, you would have to understand all black people don't even like R&B.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about?
You need to be more smooth R&B. What? But she said it with a straight face, like it was an intelligent, like cohesive thought.
Like we would understand.
Like, yeah, I'm just used to like guys.
We understand why your ass was not married. We understand that. You would have to be, and I think Camille is a stunning young woman.
But people show you eventually why they are not married on this show.
Oh my God.
It's so fast. It happens every season when you think, because when you first meet Camille, you go,
I didn't understand
what the hell is
it.
wrong
What
with
is she
Camille?
even doing here?
And then she opens her mouth on the last day of the honeymoon, or the day before the last day of the honeymoon. You're like, oh, I see exactly why you were here.
And all it did was affirm for me that her picker is off.
Yeah.
Because his barometer of blackness, how does that correspond with how he treats you?
It does not.
We're talking about things that actually do not matter, and in the process may be emotionally harming our spouse.
You could tell he was visibly distraught about it.
Because he's had these conversations with people before.
Yeah, so it probably was a trigger for him, and something that his guard was down with her, and something that probably caused a bit of a wall to go up.
But also align that with the fact that we are talking to somebody who has been adopted. Mm-hmm. That means a large portion of your identity is almost given to you. Mm-hmm. You don't have this like natural, organic way of being. You have just assimilated to the environment that you're in. And then somebody turns around and literally talks about your existence.
Yeah.
when he still is trying to figure that out in certain ways.
And told you about it.
And told you about it? Camille, I was disappointed. But lucky for you, Thomas is a good man.
Yeah.
And he ain't going to hold you to it too hard. And I feel like y'all want the same man so much, y'all don't even know when y'all have won.
I know. It's so sad.
It's creepy as hell.
Because,
and y'all think y'all want something different, and that's weird too. But all you bitches talk about the same dude, and it's getting to be exhausting and weird.
Yeah, and then you meet a good guy and then try to turn him into this universal dude that everybody else wants. And
Don't want you. And the bigger part of this conversation, and we gotta have this conversation more, y'all would describe men who y'all haven't even thought, the idea hadn't even crossed your mind that this motherfucker might not even want you back.
Yeah.
And guess what? The evidence has shown that he don't. Because if he did, you wouldn't be even in this process.
Because the math is not mathing for this guy that everybody wants.
And I am exhausted. I don't know what's happening with women, but the level of having to take up in, cape for men that I have had to do over the last, 4 seasons of Love, the 3 seasons of Love is Blind, this, whatever. It's getting to be like, we are coming up on a pandemic or an epidemic of sorts.
Oh, it's definitely something happening. And it's bad.
It is bad. And it's like, and with a lot of power, much is required. And women got it going on right now. We doing all the things or whatever the case may be. But we also think we could do all the things, say whatever we want to out our mouth, and nobody better return the favor.
Yeah.
Because imagine he gave you that energy.
It would be smoke in the city. We would be so flabbergasted by watching this man sit up on TV and say some stuff like that to you. And it ain't nothing wrong with you.
And we know it's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
Camille, I don't want to have this conversation with you again. Okay? Get it together. We're not going to get you all the way together, baby, because you've been killing it. And the other thing she did that I thought was real icky. Ladies, if you have lingerie, just pull the shit out. No need to announce it. No need to put it on a billboard. No need to show them what you purchased in your Amazon cart. No need to do any of that.
But I thought it was corny that she, before they left, showed him the lingerie. Like, here, this is what you about to get. Then gets there, gets to know him more, realizes he don't have enough R&B in his playlist, and then at the end says, "Oh, that lingerie ain't coming out. Don't worry about that, cause you don't got enough Genuine on your playlist."
Like what? I almost don't even believe Camille believe the things she say. I almost think she doing it for the plot.
I think she believes it.
It feels so crazy to me. That's why. I
could tell that she has been perseverating on it. Because she was like, I just want to talk to you. She kind of leaked it out before, but didn't go into it. And I think it was because the camera was on. And I think the minute she had a chance to really like lay it out, the full case, when the cameras were off, she did it. And he was so messed up about it, he had to go do a nanny cam, a selfie video about the whole thing.
But also, the man looks clean. He dresses nice. He had on white sneakers, and guess what, y'all? The sneakers were white. Right. You know what I mean? Like, what do we want from this human?
We want to turn him into the universal man that everybody else wants. And
the problem is, y'all, these men are getting hip. And what's happening is y'all have created a prized vision of a man, and those that are the prized vision know it. Mm-hmm. And they out here being diabolical villains because they know they could treat y'all like nothing, and you'll still come back and then want to morph a good man into them.
Yep.
They know it. Like, you know what I mean? And they know it.
Yeah.
That's why when you see these men and he making all this money and doing all these things and you think you got one, you ain't got one. You, Tisha, Keisha, Sandra, and Renee got her too.
Yep. Oh, man, I was just watching the video on this. I got to tell you about it. It's somebody who everybody knows, so I can't say his name. But it's the same situation. Like, he has been a habitual, like, terrorist in his relationships, but he keeps getting the chance to be a habitual terrorist in his relationships because there's an endless array of women who are signing up to be with him next.
I know. Because y'all stupid. And y'all gonna learn. Michelle and David, the producers came to Michelle and said, let me tell you something. Okay? Now, you signed this Mammy Tam contract, and you got one or two options.
You can try as if you want to.
You're going to either come up off these bands, and we're going to kick you the hell up out of here, or you're going to put a smile on your face and pretend like you want to be here.
And she said, where's the boogie board? I'll get on it.
Quite literally, give me a boogie board now. I find Michelle to be harmful to society, and that's because that kind of energy where you're like having a good time with somebody, because I could argue you are, we're just all anxious. I think Carla was experiencing a certain amount of anxiety being on camera.
Yeah.
That's why she was a little bit exhausted. I think I think everybody is having these moments, but Michelle is harmful because hers is becoming outward display of
nastiness.
Yes. And I find even the moment, although redeeming, it was not enough.
Nah. No, I think it was, she was obviously placating him, you know what I mean? But my frustration is Michelle, you could have just showed up on day one and went through the motions. This is what I was saying about them just vibing. Like, you didn't have to. Nobody was chastising you for not wanting to kiss the man in the mouth. No one said that you was a bad person because of that. You could have just shown. He was not, giving you negative vibes or giving you the cold shoulder, right? So you could have just been having random conversations about nothingness with him, going to the beach with him, getting on the boogie board with him. Day one, he didn't have to be walking around the resort by himself and doing coffee reviews for you to eventually be like, you know what, let's go to the beach and try to see if we can do something with this time. Like, you could have just been showing up and vibing with him.
And just doing the activities the entire time.
Right.
So Michelle, David, and his bun go out and they make sushi, which I thought was cool because he's not really a sushi eater, but he said that like he wants to be in these spaces where she understands that like
he's trying.
It might not seem like I can't, be in a room with you in these hoity-toity places, which I bet y'all a dime to a dollar, whatever that means, that she do not live the lifestyle she thinks.
Oh, I would bet it too. I think that all of these ideas are augmented to distance herself from David and any existence, any type of hope that they could ever actually be together. So she pours extra sauce on everything that is a thing for her. Oh, he doesn't eat sushi. I can't get with that. Girl, are you serious?
Are you kidding me? Neither do Joe. He really don't, y'all. He don't like raw fish.
Cooked, baked, slide to the side. You know what I mean?
But my thing is, what does that matter?
It doesn't matter.
What he wants to eat, how does that affect you?
It doesn't, but we have to see through it because this is how she lays the groundwork for her exit plan. Well, he doesn't eat sushi, so that means he's not as cultured as I am. And because he's not as cultured as I am, I just can't be with somebody who's not as cultured as I am, obviously. She's just laying the groundwork.
As if she is the pillar.
In her mind, yeah.
But not only that, I mean, for all due respect, nothing about Michelle says luxury.
I'm going to be real honest, and I really am not trying to get at her. I wholeheartedly don't see it.
I don't see it.
I don't see it. This whole thing of like, oh, I can't. She's constantly clutching her pearls.
Nothing about you.
I said it earlier in some earlier videos. I never really believed it. I just thought this is how women who are not attracted to men in today's single time, this is how they treat men who they're just not attracted to. Because if he was, if she thought he looked like her picture perfect husband, which she told on herself in this episode, y'all, and I don't know if y'all caught it. Because she said, I'm having a hard time dealing with the fact that he's not the husband that I pictured. That sentence is deplorable when you sign up for a show called Married at First Sight.
And high key, the more I think about why she's here, I think she is here for the plot. I almost don't believe that they ever thought her and David would be good together, because it is so abundantly clear this woman is not only controlling, but she has a hard time getting out of her own way. Even how everybody around her speaks about her, they understand she has a hard time in getting out of her own way.
Yeah.
That's why they always like, listen, try to have fun. Like, it's not that deep. Or trying to offer her another suggestion because they know she's always overdoing it in her brain. Mm-hmm. So I am almost of the belief they chose her to laugh at her and not with her.
I'm conflicted because I wanted to give them credit because I saw when they were vetting Michelle, they kept asking her these probing questions that had everything to do with David. Are you okay with this? Are you okay with that? How would you react if this has happened? And she just blew through all of those questions like, oh, sure, I'm fine with that.
But I don't feel like she said it like, I'm fine with that. Like, when I go back and think about her conversation and asked, well, what if he lived at home? She was like, well, what do you mean? That was the answer. Like,
and then she said, oh, yes, I would be fine with that.
But, Joe, that's not how brains work, right? You do answer the question in your brain. Somebody asks you a question, you answer the question in your brain, and then you and your brain have a conversation. How do I want to express what I want to answer to this person? That's how it works. So she knew she didn't like it.
No.
But she also knew that she wanted to be on this show.
That's what I'm saying.
So she had to say.
That's what I'm saying.
But part of me knows they've been doing this for 18 seasons. Part of me doesn't even believe that they really thought this would work out.
To your point, you can read the fine print in the hesitancy of her answers. You can kind of.
So how did we even get here? She's not even sure.
I can't answer it. I don't know.
So my thing is, that's why I'm really truly of the belief you're on here to be made fun of. And part of me feels bad because I'm kind of leaning into it. But the other part of me is like, I think it is so important for people who behave like Michelle does to be called out. We have to stop this because not only are you just nasty, but you don't know how you're affecting other people.
Yeah, but I honestly think she had the naivete to come on here and truly believe that she was going to get whatever unicorn man she created in her mind, she was going to be giving him as soon as she got to the altar on day one. Like, I think the Karen in her definitely believed that. I think she totally just was like, he's going to be exactly what I think he's going to be because I asked him for it, and that's how it's going. Like, I think there's such a sense of aloofness, entitlement, naivete about being a Karen and being out in the world.
Oh, that's a good point.
I think she's genuinely crushed that.
But it's not naivete. It's aloofness.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. She's not naive.
I think she's genuinely crushed that it didn't happen the way she pictured it in her mind.
Yes, because she's like, how couldn't it have had?
Right. Everything works out like
exactly,
that. So
exactly. You're absolutely correct. But I don't think, despite that, she don't want to stay in the rooms with him. She don't want to really do nothing with him.
She don't want to sit on a plane next to him.
She in the back behind him.
Man, this is nasty work. And I think people are giving it to her, you know what I mean, as she deserves. But I really want people to hold her feet to the fire because if we, like I said, we watched a man alienate a woman like this on TV, not want to sit next to her on a plane, like just treat somebody as a nasty human being like she's doing him, they would rip him apart. You know what I mean?
They would rip him apart. But that's why I said there is a shift happening that I do think that men over, generations have been this nasty to women in some way, shape, form, or fashion. However, we have not seen it because it was not filmed. And now we're filming it and we're just in the era where women are getting their look back. And it doesn't look great.
No, it's terrible.
It doesn't look great. And it's really affirming why people don't want to be in relationship.
1,000%. Like when I named that stat that we talked about some weeks ago about how whatever 60% or whatever of single men answered that they didn't want to re-enter the dating scene for so many reasons. I think that that's a big part of those reasons. And I just think that her constantly, adding on to the deplorable behavior as he constantly turns his cheeks, it's really terrible. It's really terrible to watch.
It is so hard to watch. And I'm just tired of seeing a man being demeaned and he's still being nice. And I think men are scum of the earth. And I still think we got to be nice to them. But also, this is what I told you this a while ago. People will get a dog in order for us to believe that they are humane, but treat people like mess.
Yeah.
And that's this.
That's this.
You are a terrible person.
Yeah.
Full stop. And I actually don't even think Michelle being nice for, 37 seconds meant absolutely nothing to me.
I mean,
it did not change
nothing.
any tide. As a matter of fact, it made me feel like she needs to be diagnosed with some kind of like disorder because it just flipped on his head way too fast. And I was just like,
Well, she obviously had to talking to by production. Like
it's not up for debate.
But it did flip. And then it ended quickly. Before they even got on the airplane, it was, I'm not going to be sleeping in the same
Because they
room
didn't
with you.
have the you in Chicago now conversation. Production didn't have that conversation yet.
Right.
They had the you on this honeymoon and you playing.
Right.
And we gonna hold some. They had that
Right.
conversation.
So as he's planning for life back home, she hits him with, I'm not sleeping in the same room with you. That's crazy.
And then they going through the thing. She gonna say, "Oh, thank goodness the primary bedrooms are the same size, so we don't have any issues there." I almost wish it wasn't, so he
This
could be
is
like, "Nah, I'm gonna
nasty.
take this one because I'm just bigger than you."
Right.
But she's not the real villain to me. Madison is.
Madison is the quiet villain, man. And I don't know if
Madison
y'all
is the real
picking it-
villain.
Well, some of y'all, some of our community is picking it up because I see it in the comments and I appreciate y'all. I don't know if the rest of the world is picking it up. You know what I mean? Especially because I'm no longer on Twitter. Follow me on Blue Sky. Shout out to my new Blue Sky account as well as Threads and all the other things that we're now on. So I don't know if the rest of the world is picking it up, but Madison is a quiet, more polite Michelle.
And that is almost sinister. She's basically the person who said she was voting for Kamala and then voted for Donald Trump behind her back. Madison and Allan do a Mayan ritual. And I'm going to say this. I hope these Mayan people knock them over the head for 10,000 ones, okay, to do this ritual.
The problem is they did, but it was Lifetime picked up the bill.
Because ayahuasca, all these rituals that people are doing,
Bored.
y'all want us to believe it's like this cool thing or whatever.
Bored.
It is not cool at all. Y'all have no understanding of any of these people's actual rituals, actual spiritual, deities, actual anything. And I hope that I hope every single person who does it, whenever we see it, these ayahuasca rituals, these Mayan rituals, I hope these native people are knocking y'all over the head for 10,000 ones.
From what I hear, they are. They definitely they on a financial come up from y'all wanting to go to the woods and throw up on each other.
Y'all want to shit poop in a group?
Yeah.
Y'all are disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Oh, mind you, the lady didn't say nothing that she couldn't just see.
Right.
Like literally, just a complete waste of money. But not a waste of money because I like that they are taking care of the locals. A waste of money because enough co-opting other people's. Y'all have never mind. I'm going to shut
It
up.
ain't crazy. Y'all knew exactly where we was going.
I was going to say something crazy. But the point is, I hope that Mayan lady built a whole nother wing on her home.
She did off the backs of Lifetime.
She basically sat there and said that, Madison, you closed off and it's like you really one person on the outside, another person on the inside.
Yeah.
She basically called you Two-Face. Then, which I just told y'all that because she's the actual villain this season. Then Allan, she said, you talk too much. Which he does. And I want to give y'all,
I don't think he does. We cannot allow these women, and when I say these women, I mean Madison and Michelle, to gaslight us in the same way they are gaslighting David and Allan. Because with David and Allan, they have gaslit them so well to the point where they're now questioning themselves. Maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe I do talk too much. Maybe I do need to change my clothes, and maybe I do need to do that. There's nothing wrong with them. At this point, I'm not saying they're perfect human beings. I'm not saying we won't get back to Chicago and they'll be complete, terrible human beings. We can only talk about what we see today. At this point, David and Allan have done nothing wrong. Okay? So we cannot be brought in on their gaslighting operation to now think, you know what? David does have diarrhea of the mouth. And Allan does dress weird. And Allan does. We can't do that. Have
But
you
as
ever?
if she
have
is
you-
the pillar of style.
But not only that. But not only that. When you are in awkward spaces with people, it is only human nature for you to want to fill the air. Most people do that.
Oh, yes. That's more normal.
If I
than
were to
we-
sit
yes.
here on this couch and you were to constantly be raising points, and I will respond like,
I would just keep raising points.
you would just keep talking, and eventually you would overtalk.
Yeah.
And in overtalking, you make mistakes, you fumble over your words, you say things that you don't even really mean because you really are just trying to have a cohesive conversation, but you can't because I'm not giving you anything. This is what Michelle and Madison are constantly doing to David and Allan. And then they talk, and then they say things, and then they get nervous, and they fiddle with their hands. And then we on social media go, oh, I can see what she means. We can't do it, y'all. We cannot do it.
But to your point, so two things I want to raise. What I was going to get at was that I think that Allan is nervous.
Yes.
I don't think that he would normally want to fill a room like this.
But I think she makes him nervous.
But I think he doesn't exactly. She's not giving him anything.
Right.
So then he's kind of like
Right.
going off for like his own. He got to
Nothing.
create
He's
the
not-
vibe.
Exactly. He has to talk to himself. It's the same thing that David is trying
But
to do.
I want to go back to David and Michelle because you brought up something that I had in my notes and I forgot to say. For Michelle to keep saying that he is over talking her is also violent. And I'm going to tell you guys why. He is not over talking her. Black and brown people have a way of communicating with one another that feels so fluid. And it could come off to somebody who is not immersed in certain cultures like we're talking over one another. But in truth, we're just having this fluid conversation, right? I can't even believe you would sit up in people's faces and say that you want to date a black man, a light-skinned black man, whatever the bleep that means. You will want to date a black man and you don't understand that basic pillar of being black. That's something almost unique to brown people. How we hold conversation. And a part of that, David lives in a house with a ton of people. Grew up in a house with a ton of people. He had to yell.
They're talking nonstop.
What are we talking about? It's almost, it really is deplorable.
It really is. And I'm going to tell you another perspective I have of it, why I don't think David is over talking her, is because he's talking to somebody who isn't talking back to him.
Which
He
also
can't be
in his
over-talking.
family, they would just keep talking.
Right. He can't be over talking to you. He can't be over talking you. Have we watched their interactions? He asks a question and she gives a one-word answer. How is he over talking you? You don't have anything to say. You never have anything to say. He literally asked this woman, what is your relationship like with your parents?
Why do you
Her
want to know
response was, why do you want to know that? How is he over talking you?
How? It's not only, it's how, and it is, you all want to be in spaces, y'all want so badly, y'all hate yourselves so deeply that y'all need to go out and date these people outside of your race, but y'all have no love for anybody else's culture. Y'all ain't really down.
You don't embrace it.
You don't really embrace it. You really just want a light-skinned person, so what, you can have little mulatto babies?
Now, that's a conversation for another day.
But am I lying? Because what's the point?
No.
If you don't accept all facets of the culture that your person is kind of built in the fabric of who they are, we would have to argue that it's epigenetics.
Because all she does is reject everything about himself and his culture.
And everything that to me is cultural.
Yes.
But I'm certain she gonna give me another reason to curse out of her loud. So let's move on and get back to the real villain. She tells this man, they have this, they do their little ceremony with the Mayans. They get knocked over their head for how much, whatever much money. They have this conversation about, when they get back to Chicago, about how she feels like you should want to look a certain way for your spouse. And I thought this was such a premature conversation. And so shallow, and so indicative of why at 29 years old she was too immature to be a part of this process. Because how are we even annoyed by how somebody dresses?
I'm gonna flip it. 100% agree, and I just think that we should approach that conversation with the same outrage that we would approach it if Thomas had sat Camille down and said, "I'm just used to like smaller women, They got tighter stomachs, smaller arms. I just love when my women get up in the morning and they cook breakfast and they go to the gym. And so if you would just start doing that, Madison did the same thing. And I think a lot of these women get away with a lot of this bullshit because they say it in a tone like that. They say it in a very feminine way with a smile on their face. And half the viewers, I believe, just let it roll over their shoulders, roll over their head. And they don't really give that line of commentary the same attention and disdain that they would if a man would have sat up in her face and told her, you need to fix your appearance to be more palpable to me.
I couldn't even believe that she would even die on that sword. But that's the immaturity of it all, right? Like, we're talking about you being in a relationship at this point for like a week. This is the conversation you're having with somebody after knowing them a week. What are his values?
Right.
Like, what are the things that are like these intangibles? We can change. Like I tell people all the time, y'all hold on to things. The reason why y'all will not be in longer relationships is because y'all hold on to things that really could be fixed in 90 days. But the truth is you ain't got 90 days. And you're not going to get 90 days. Because if you understood that, okay, just change the way he looked.
Right.
I quite literally dated a man, and when I met him, he looked like Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay? And that's I'm not even being facetious. And when I left him, he looked like
Jeffrey Dahmer.
He looked like Ryan Reynolds. And that's not a joke. And all it took for me to was like, you know what? One, he talked too much, but I was like, you know what? He's nervous. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna give him a chance or whatever the case may be. Y'all don't even give people a chance. Y'all can't even roadmap your own fucking lives. That's why you're not with anyone.
Yeah.
There is literally like, you have to get, because you would want that. You would want 90 days. You would want somebody
but
to
you
say.
wouldn't want nobody to come in the minute they met you and say, this is what you need to fix.
And just
right
pick
now.
you apart?
Yeah, you
imagine that.
You would never want that.
I'm almost of the belief, and I think a study should be done, between people who are told in their younger years, who are constantly affirmed, how they speak to people, and those who don't. I was constantly affirmed. I would never say these things to people. I know how important it is to know that you are loved, you are beautiful, you are smart, and you are funny. So much so that now, specifically now, I used to be mean, but now those things would never, like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
The way you dress? Girl, look at you in your like, girl, please, not in the dress barn fashions, talking about I want to look good for you. You look like $5. You know what I mean? We keeping it on it.
Honestly, yes.
If we keeping it on it, you know what I mean?
But you just think because of how these other men in the past have treated her, she has this inflated sense of self in the dating world.
I think it goes back to her father.
And I
think it goes back to how you are talked to as a child. Because if you are spoken to in a nice manner, if you are fostered in an environment that you feel so loved and full, you would never be in a space with another person and feel like you got to pick them apart.
Oh, 1,000%.
Because you have learned certain like bits of empathy and tact and understand how much love it takes or how hard it is for somebody to get up sometimes.
But also you will have the intelligence to know that using a nice tone doesn't make the things you say any less nastier. You know what
that's
I mean?
Also, I think that's a part of their culture.
And it got to be, because I was just about to reference Michelle.
I think it's a cultural thing.
It has to be, because a lot of y'all, and I think it's something happening just in general. I think there's a lot of people in relationships who think that they can say nasty things and it's acceptable because they say it in a nice manner.
We used to argue about that.
We used to argue about it. It was the same thing with Hannah. Hannah thought,
Hannah was disgusting.
But she also did that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think it doesn't matter that you're not yelling or cursing somebody out. You can still say something just as deplorable to them. And it doesn't make it okay.
The idea that you would even have the goal in a week of knowing someone, we haven't even heard you ask him anything deep.
Or anything about himself.
Or anything about himself. That's how I know you shallow.
But also, it's this thing of you coming in. Now, Madison is doing it. Trying to turn this man into every other man who you done dated that you would describe as what did she call him? The hot guy or the it guy or whatever guy.
The it guy that don't want you back.
How has that been working for you, Madison? How has the it guy been working for you?
But a lot of y'all be really blocking y'all blessings. And it really is sad because, see, it's only going to take him a little bit. Just a little tweaking to get to where you think you want him to be. And the moment he does that, he's out of here. Now, you're not my type. See, y'all so busy wanting the mother jumpers to be all these things, you don't even realize you pushing him into a whole nother atmosphere.
Well, that's, Zar, and when I say this, I don't mean this like jokingly. That literally is another conversation, is another video. We can do 60 minutes on just that premise. I see it. I've experienced it from other people, from friends of mine's, like in relationships that they've been in, where that dynamic actually happened. Like you created your own monster, and now your monster is in the streets.
And don't give up about like, I was with you. Now the monster looking at you like, You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, instead of fostering a place where it's like, listen, I think you're beautiful. I think you're wonderful. I think you're all the things.
Building them up in a positive way so that now their outlook on your part in their transition is gratitude.
Come on.
And not resentment.
And not, I'm about to go get me a badder bitch.
And peace out to you.
Because Madison, I know what the people look like in Chicago.
Right.
You're a 7.
Girl, you is not high
like you're like a 6'7". These women in Chicago look good.
I think you're a little high on that too.
But
Madison think just because she's in shape, she's a bad, and that's just not. Girl, I don't care that your biceps is the same size as mine.
I don't care that you're breaking bricks on the weekend.
Yeah, I really don't.
You picking up cars? Don't nobody give a damn about that.
Yeah, I really don't care. And little do you know, even for white women, that's not the standard of beauty for today.
But let me tell y'all something. I was just talking to Jazz, and Jazz was talking, and we gonna wrap this up. But Jazz said something funny. She said, I was talking to this guy, and I was talking about
talking about my sister.
Yes, working out and everything like that. And he said, I wonder who told women they need to have abs.
Y'all don't be listening. I be trying to tell y'all this stuff.
Because I told her straight up, I said, I am thick and I'm just embracing that I'm a thickums. And we going to work on my bloat. But I'm just,
I don't know a man who cared that you got a 6-pack, Madison. Not one man.
I don't know a man, but the problem is that you think because you have dated these, but that's the problem with dating men who are superficial. There are men out there who will notch by notch break you down, and make you believe the reason why they don't love you is because you don't have abs.
Oh, but we can acknowledge that it's false, right?
It's absolutely false.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Also the person who's saying it matters, right? He was never going to like you, baby. Oh, it mattered not that you had the abs, you had the arms, you didn't have the arm. Those were not the reasons why he was dealing with you.
1,000%.
But you done contorted yourself. You out here like a fucking Ninja Turtle doing all these goddamn things. And you think that's the reason why you keeping men. It's so superficial.
And you think that's the reason why you can talk down to Allan like this?
Are you kidding me? Show me a bad bitch and I'll show you somebody who tired of fucking her. And that's just it and that's all. Girl, work on you. That's an internal thing. You ugly.
Right. That's what we getting at. We're not telling you not to go to the gym.
That's not what I'm saying.
We're telling you 24-hour fitness can't fix your insides. It just can't.
It just can't. And on that note, I'm tired of talking about these mother jumpers, but we love talking to y'all. Make sure y'all hit us up in the comments. Y'all been knocking us over the head with the comments, and I've been loving it. Okay, so thank y'all for coming through, showing us love. Let us know what y'all thinking. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I know I went in on Camille today, and I'm apologizing now because, Camille, if I was a little harsh.
I don't think you was harsh at all. And
it was just love. I want to say it was love. I want her to know that we are not coming at her. We want her and Thomas to win. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. But also, we don't have to preference it because if Thomas would have said the same bullshit that you said, we would have chopped
I'd have tore him to shreds
and told him to pick himself up off the floor. We wouldn't have picked him up and gave him a hug afterwards.
Okay.
I just want to keep the same energy. Like when these women are doing these deplorable things, I just want to keep the same energy with it. You know what I mean? I don't think somebody thanked us for keeping the same energy, and I want to appreciate whoever that was. I don't remember your name.
They did.
But somebody literally pointed it out. And I want to thank y'all because that's really how I view all of these. When I'm watching these shows, I'm not about to, I wouldn't do good on the Mars versus Venus podcast because I'm not here to bash women. I'm also not here to bash men. I just want people to be better human beings and better spouses. And so I think if I think that we would have tore Tom, Dick, or Harry apart, I want us to tear Ashley, Madison, and Michelle apart too. Because I think too often, because people say especially women, they say this deplorable shit with a smile on their face and a voice that is a few decibels higher. We think that it's okay. And we don't approach it with the same vitriol that we would if his name was Benjamin. So that's why I'm like, don't apologize to Camille. Because we would have thought, it doesn't matter. We would have thought it was completely deplorable, nasty work if a man would have sat up there and said this, you need to be blacker.
But let me say,
so I'm not going to apologize
that's
to Camille.
True.
Do better. Don't ever approach a man like that, especially a brown man like that. That was nasty work, and I thought that
yeah, because imagine all the things he going through in his life as a black man.
You could tell that he was distraught about it, and I didn't like it because you could tell that he's the type of kind person who really cares about what his spouse thinks and feels about him. So he's also being gaslit to the point where he's having this inner turmoil about how to fix the fact that I don't got enough R&B on my playlist, and I don't like watching people get beat up like that. I think that if we watch a man emotionally abuse a woman like that on camera, we would be dragging them through the streets like we were in the same times of Achilles. You know what I'm saying? With a horse and carriage, rocking them, throwing rocks at them. So I don't want to ever give somebody a verbal lashing who deserved it and then couch it with, but we still, no, fuck that. No. Do better because I'm serious. We got to get into the moment where we have to lean in and keeping the same energy, y'all, especially because there is something happening with these women. I'm married at first sight. Love is blind. There's something happening and we need to approach it with the same.
What do y'all think is happening?
I don't know.
I need y'all to bust in. I need y'all to bust in the comments. And I want women to make people uncomfortable and do all the things and be empowering, do whatever. I just don't want us to I don't want us to be going low. I don't want us to be going low when they going high when they going low. I just don't want us to be going low. And it's getting real low. And it's a bunch of
y'all going low when they going high. David going high, Allan going high, Thomas going high, and all of y'all is going low.
I didn't mean to activate Joe. What I was just trying to get at is that I'm saying this out of love for Camille and Thomas and just, I was disappointed in what she said, but I want them to win. But we love y'all. Again, bust down, subscribe to this Mamie Tam channel. Tell us what y'all thinking. I'm your girl, Zar Eleanor. This is my beautiful husband, Zar Conner, and this is the Conner's Couch. Bye.